it fell into the right category, that is for foreigners. But the other aspect of the conversation I'd like us to look at has to do with how we're treating the SIM card re-registration, the Ghana card not being available for everybody. The last time I spoke to the PRO, still a number of Ghanaians who, whether through their fault or not their own, don't have the Ghana card. Your take?
Well, Ben, the number one problem we have with the Ghana card and NIA is that they don't have a very good backbone.
They don't have a very good what?
A good backbone. The backbone, the infrastructure they are using to do the NIA exercise is not as sophisticated as it should be. It's very simple. If you are trying to compile database of all your citizens, be it in the country or abroad, and also compile database of citizens and non-citizens, you need a very good IT infrastructure. This IT infrastructure should have a very sophisticated software, which at least should have artificial intelligence, AI. Okay? Now, I don't think that NIA has that sophisticated software because, look, if NIA captures my database and they have my biometrics, I do not have to go to any other institution to repeat that exercise. Anybody who is IT savvy will tell you this. There is something called API. The API is like a key code that gives everybody access to your database. So today, we now see this running around to the banks, running around to the networks providers to do the same process I did when I went to get my Ghana card. So my bank calls me that I have to now come in and do a verification of my account. I take my Ghana card. They now take my fingerprints again, and they take the Ghana card and input the information into their system. That should not be happening in 2022 if NIA has the sophisticated software they're supposed to have. All this queuing at their telcos should not be happening if NIA has the sophisticated database that they're supposed to have. It's just...
Are you suggesting the software the NIA is using is obsolete? Is that what you're suggesting?
I don't know what they're using, but until they come out to tell us otherwise, yes, I would say that they don't have the right software. Because in the world of IT, okay, that doesn't exist. With a database provider, you are a registry of database. So what the NIA become is a registry or a depository of database. So they have everybody's data. Every institution that wants to access that data just acquires an API from NIA, and they have access to that data, okay? Because if you look at DVLA, you look at the banks, you look at the telcos, nobody should ask me or you to come back and repeat that process. It's not done, not in IT. Now, you don't take my word for it. Ask any IT expert, they'll tell you that. That is not done. If you have that data in your system, everybody should be able to access it. And that they pay a fee for the API. Now that everybody is having to go and take their Ghana card into these institutions, the question I'm asking is that NIA does not have the requisite infrastructure to do this work. So if you are now going to expand it into these areas like abroad, and then link it to immigration, link it to all these things we want to do, you can't expect people to physically be carrying the Ghana card to places for other registrations. That is not the idea of the national database. Everybody who live out, go ahead.
Let me just ask you this. So I keep sharing this story. A Ghanaian friend of mine, resident in Canada, permanent resident with his documents and all of that, but he still, carries his Ghanaian citizenship. So a dual citizen, basically. He recently came to Ghana, and he was sharing an interesting story with me. There wasn't much he could do. He wanted to register a SIM. He couldn't because he didn't have the Ghana card. Meanwhile, this guy has his passport and everything else. And he was telling me, look, in Canada, I have 3+ cards, national identity cards, different kinds of them, that I can use to prove my identity. And I don't need one, just a single card to prove that. Why is it that we're restricting ourselves to one? That brings us back to the question of, you have a passport. You can use your passport to get your Ghana card, but you can't use your passport to acquire certain other, documentation in this country.
That is the point I'm making, that the depository of data, the backbone, the software, the technology they have is obsolete or is wrong. Because what your ID does is your identification to show that the person standing in front of you to access whatever service they are trying to access is who they say they are. So a passport, Ghana card, or a driver's license, okay? Now, what that company you are accessing the service from has a direct access to the biometrics and all the information captured by National Identification Authority, NIA. So all he has to do is to take your date of birth or take your name, and then any of the searches that he can do, because your date of birth will be unique. If you have your Ghana card number will be unique. If you have your passport number will be unique. Okay? So he inputs that into the database. If he is linked to the National Identification Database, it should pull up your data.
Right.
And saying that the person in front of you, your picture, your everything should come up.
All right.
Or even better, let me give you one better. If you go into the office, you don't even need to have your passport or your ID. If they have a thumbprint scanner or a fingerprint scanner, if they ask you to scan your biometrics, which is either your eyes or your thumbprint, that should immediately speak to the NIA database and pull your data and say that this person standing there is who he says he is. It's a two-way communication system.
Right, and that is what...
The same way we are saying that you have to physically carry the card, and unless it's not, it's wrong. In 2022, that is wrong.
Let's get into other stories. Forceful points you're making there, as we see in other jurisdictions.